Hi, everybody. I am Sarah Young. I am from a postdoc at the Erasmus University Rotterdam. And today my presentation is going to be about prediction, production, and disintegration, corporate government partnerships, and the need for expertise. Basically, I want to try to do this video quickly, so I'll go through some of the work. But as a preface, I'm doing some interviews and some work right now currently, which this talk kind of comes out of. So it's kind of in the process of development. I need to figure out kind of what framework I need to be. Right now I'm playing around with the idea of expertise, and I know it's a broad discussion area which I need to dig into further. So right now that's kind of what the framework is. And again, if you have any suggestions for me or any ideas for more, let me know. But otherwise, I'll just go ahead and get started. General ideas of expertise. If you're thinking about an expert, you might be popular definitions are someone that's, a knowledgeable person that equates to other words like a scientist or professionals or someone that knows something that others don't, or just like in a position of authority to make a declaration or try to explain information to somebody in a certain way. It doesn't necessarily mean that expertise means experts. Gunman recommends that you can, or says that, you can break down levels like specialists, professionals, scientists, experts, experts being the ones that, mediate knowledge between clients in the face of uncertainty, and specialists are kind of maybe more routine type job oriented work where you might do not necessarily be the expert to guide people in risks or uncertainty in a larger sense. So today, I think what I'm talking about is kind of like a more of a specialist slash, the subject matter expert. So the definitions are something I need to play around with. But the general idea of expertise, if you know something, you can help formulate policies, or you reduce uncertainty by explaining what has happened or what can be done next. Identify what is dangerous. You're kind of defining what is problematic by saying these are the things we need to pay attention to. Again, expertise is often the accumulation of skills, or somebody is you're in a position by others to be an expert. You can have individuals, organizational experts, distributed experts that have just associations of the groups of specific things, and they kind of can be in intermediaries between different fields or knowledge sites. And today, or also as far as expertise, there's based off other literature, you have social theorists kind of see us relying more dependent on experts steering life choices. International relations theorists. There's several different generations based off of this research, where earlier scholarship sees expertise can help international cooperation. Different areas of expertise produce, worldviews in politics, and then the importance of investigation of the expert. How does expertise dependent on history, materiality, technology? So basically, these different generations are kind of like how do we talk about expertise, and what is the larger role? And basically just kind of thinking overall in general, what do experts do? How do they do it? Why do we believe them? You can think of academics as experts, or some people do. Some people might argue against it. But anyway, so I'm just trying to think about the way we have expertise. And then there's also this idea that, what is the role of experts? Sometimes there is no role of experts. If science or if technologies come in out of a social relationship, even the public can be can be considered an expert, because they have the technology kind of comes from the social technical relationship. So we can't just have lone groups of expertise without considering the public. So anyway, based on all this scholarship, I come to these conclusions that an expert is a contested concept. Experts are seen as those who define as well as construct problems. We always have to ask ourselves, who really is an expert? How are they granted that position? Why do we listen to what they say? And know that they're what experts have or provide is often questionable. Over reliance without critical social evaluation is also problematic. But overall, the idea is that expertise, an expert, we often look to experts for guidance, but there's also a question, might be problems in that role. Considering that, this presentation, I wanted to look at the role of the company of USIS. As a disclaimer, I worked for this company. I have left in 2014, but I worked there almost 12 years. Wasn't involved in any of these issues at all, but it's something that I've explored since then because I think it's like a problematic space. USIS was a background investigation firm that was formerly a U.S. government business that the 1996 Bill Clinton, President Clinton at the time, privatized it, and it became like a private entity. So anyway, it was one of the largest background investigations providers for the U.S. government, and by that I mean if you are a person that works for the U.S. government and has access to sensitive, classified, proprietary information, you have to get a background check to make sure that your background is up to the level of fitness of someone that would need to be in that position, that you're not in too many financial problems, you don't leave some type of a strange lifestyle that would leave you susceptible to blackmail or coercion or any number of host issues. But anyway, so the security clearance contractor was authorized to use this artificial intelligence tool called Blue Zone to assign cases, to kind of track and monitor casework of the different individuals that are trying to get clearances. But somewhere in between the official authorized sanctioned use of this tool and the end game of this company, they start just a few kind of, I would say, experts that were in charge of knowing how to use this technology started manipulating it so that they could dump cases. By that, they would look for cases that that they thought didn't need to be reviewed by themselves. USIS had two contracts: one to finish the background investigations, and two to review them so that the quality had fitness. So they designed the program to check for the cases that wouldn't set off flags, I guess, so to speak, and then they would kind of close out without that extra piece of review, which they did it to the amount of 665,000 cases over, I think, a 4-year time period. And it's public on public record. But anyway, it was this interesting part where the problem was that only a few people knew at this how to manipulate this technology. And I think it's just an interesting space to look at. And again, I'm in the process of exploring it. And how do we think about expertise in this spot? Because only a select few were allowed to operate it. Only those covering up the issues were allowed to know, and thus those were only the people that allowed, or only a few people knew how to operate it. Thus, only a few people know how they were manipulating it. Government oversight allowed the use of the program, but they didn't necessarily check up on it, and didn't know what to look for. They would theoretically be able to tell that one code was dumping a large number of cases apparently at the end of the month so that they can meet monthly revenue and then get into your bonuses. But if you didn't know, if you weren't necessarily looking for that over extension of the cases, you might not find it. So anyway, this lack of expertise allowed for at the government level and kind of the oversight level, allowed the dumping to continue. And it also made the government kind of strange friends with USIS, because there's also this, and as far as testimony goes, there's a point where USIS may have known, or OPM, which is Office of Personnel Management, which was the government agency that was in charge of managing USIS. There might have been a time where they knew that USIS was doing something weird with the cases, but USIS's success was also OPM's success. So OPM may or may not have played innocent or acted like they didn't know. This is, again, this is not official on the record. I'm not, this is, I guess it's weird being in an online format where I'm not making any accusations to OPM if somebody was looking at this video. But anyway, I guess that's just a strange coincidence, or what am I trying to say, byproduct of being online. But anyway, so my idea is like the expert versus specialist. Do we need people at the top? It's also a problem because crime by computer is often a matter of expertise. Crime in computers have been as old as computers itself. And even back in 1976, Parker had showed that a lack of top management understanding of technology and nature of data processing is a major contribution to white-collar crime. Today, 1976, anybody will believe anything if they're told as a result of computer error. The situation perpetuated by the giant electronic brain, sensationalized in news media today. While I don't necessarily think that's the case, I also think that, right now we're in a process of using AI in law enforcement or other areas, and not everybody knows how to use the technology or what's wrong. And also in my research have talked to other people that are in law enforcement that are using technologies built by other companies, and then they're worried about who can use or who knows who's controlling the data. They really want the programs to be controlled in-house, and it's problematic when they're not. So anyway, while the giant electronic brain kind of seems a little antique, so to speak, I still think we're in this idea of like computers or technologies sometimes are like assumed to do all these things, and we can they could be easily glossed over if someone is purposely misusing them. So and computer crime offenders tend to be very ordinary and simply had a problem to solve or developed a goal to achieve by ordinary means. So manipulating AI in a way where one, people are unaware, and two, there's not, if we're creating experts that control these programs, there's a small number of people who might be able to detect the issues is somewhat problematic. So conclusions, like it's interesting to look at the space because it draws attention to expertise on the organizational level, leads to the question of separation of like cognitive knowledge and technology. If we're putting this on kind of, at least in this case, was on a need to know basis where upper and lower levels, inside and outside, did and didn't know about the technology, just like the few select management, corporate management people. How do you build an oversight, especially like in this case with classified information? For AI, how much should developers and users know? AI can be as problematic in spaces just like other, as problematic in spaces other just predictive policing, facial recognition. I know we always tend to talk about those areas a lot as far as problems, but I also wonder about like the control of AI, and there is crime by computer that may also be happening in spaces we don't even think about. So, and those are deliberate crimes versus also not just maybe more problematic notions of algorithms, so which are still problematic, but maybe in this case it was very deliberate that they were trying to defraud the government for more money and corporate bonuses. So anyway, in the future, do we need more oversight? I wince at the idea of oversight because I feel like government, or at least when I was in the area with OPM, there's already a lot of oversight. Everything kind of had an oversight. So at what point can they do more? And overall, I think I'm still working on this. If anybody wants to give me any ideas or talk about this, I'm welcome, or a welcome conversation. So anyway, thank you. Have a good day.